My name is Olivia, 24, and my mother, Rachel, 50, hasn't smiled or laughed in almost 40 years. This isn't because she's depressed or emotionless. She's actually quite charismatic and engaging when you talk with her. But her face, permanently set in this neutral expression that borders on a slight frown. My entire life, I've never seen her smile. Not once. Growing up, I thought this was normal. When other kids would talk about their moms laughing at something funny or smiling in photos, I just assumed they meant something different than what I was picturing. It wasn't until I was around 8 that I realized my mom was different. "Why doesn't your mom ever smile?" my friend Jessica asked during a sleepover at our house. "Is she mad at us?" I remember feeling confused by the question. My mom wasn't mad. She just made us homemade pizza and was sitting across the room reading while we watched a movie. When I asked her about it later, she explained her no smiling philosophy for the first time. "I went to a strict Catholic school as a child," she told me. "The nuns would punish us for smiling or showing too much emotion. After years of that, I learned to keep my face still. Then I noticed it kept me from getting wrinkles like other women my age." She showed me pictures of her as a young girl. There was one where she had this huge, uninhibited grin that I barely recognized as her. Then she showed me a photo from when she was around 14, with this practiced, tight-lipped expression that's still her signature look today. "See how much better this looks?" she'd asked. "Plus, I had these ridiculous hamster cheeks when I smiled. I looked deranged." I didn't think much of it then. It was just mom being mom. My father, Dave, had apparently accepted it during their brief marriage. They split when I was 7, and Dad would occasionally make jokes about his poker-faced ex-wife, but never seemed bothered by it. As I got older, though, it started affecting me in ways I hadn't anticipated. School events were the worst. During my piano recital in 5th grade, I scanned the audience to find my mom sitting stone-faced while every other parent beamed with pride. When I got my high school diploma, the photographer couldn't understand why my mom wouldn't smile for our family photo. "Is she angry about something?" he whispered to me. My friends started making comments. "Is your mom okay? She looks pissed." Or, "Does your mom not approve of us?" I'd have to explain, over and over, that this was just her face, that she was actually having a great time despite looking like she was attending a funeral. Dating became a nightmare once guys started coming to my house. Mom would greet them with her usual expressionless face, and they'd immediately think she hated them. One boyfriend broke up with me because he was convinced my mother would never accept him, all because she physically couldn't show approval with her face. Through all this, I never really confronted her about it. It was her choice, her face, her life philosophy. Who was I to question it? She'd found a way to keep looking youthful, and she does look amazing for 50, not a single line on her face, and it had become so integral to her identity that asking her to change felt wrong. Then I met Thomas 2 years ago. He's wonderful, kind, funny, and somehow not bothered by my mom's expressionless face. When he proposed 6 months ago, I was ecstatic. We immediately started planning our dream wedding for this spring. That's when things started to unravel. I was going through old family albums for a wedding slideshow when I found myself lingering on photos from my childhood. In every single one, their eye was smiling widely next to my stone-faced mother. Birthday parties, Christmases, vacations, 40 different events, same 2 expressions. It was jarring to see the contrast laid out chronologically. Something about those photos triggered feelings I'd buried for years. I started having nightmares about my wedding day, standing at the altar with Thomas, turning to see my mother watching with that same blank expression she'd worn my entire life. In every dream, I'd end up in tears, screaming, "Can't you just smile for once?" I realized I needed to talk to her. 3 weeks ago, I invited Mom to dinner to discuss wedding plans. Everything was fine until I brought up the photography schedule. "Mom," I said carefully, "I've been thinking a lot about the wedding photos." She nodded, sipping her wine. "I assume Jason's handling the photography. He's very talented." Yes, but that's not what I wanted to discuss. I took a deep breath. Mom, would you consider trying to smile for the wedding photos? Her wine glass froze midway to her lips. For someone who claims not to show emotion, the flash of hurt in her eyes was unmistakable. Olivia, you know I don't do that. I know, but this is my wedding. These pictures will hang in our home forever, and my voice cracked unexpectedly. I just want one normal photo where my mother looks happy that I'm getting married. She set down her glass with deliberate care. I am happy for you, you know that. But no one else does, I blurted out. No one looking at those photos will know that. They'll think you disapproved or were miserable the whole time. Since when do you care what other people think? She asked, her voice eerily calm. This isn't about other people. It's about me, about how I feel when I look at those pictures years from now. What followed was the most intense argument we've ever had. Decades of unspoken feelings came pouring out. I told her how embarrassed I'd been as a child, how her expressionless face made me constantly question whether she truly loved me, how I'd spent years in therapy partly because of her emotional unavailability, as my therapist called it. She countered that she'd shown her love in countless other ways, being present at every important event, supporting my dreams, making sacrifices for my happiness. She just did it all with a straight face. I literally don't know how to smile naturally anymore, she admitted. When I try, it looks forced and creepy. Then practice, I snapped. Take some lessons, see a therapist, I don't care. Is maintaining your wrinkle-free face more important than your relationship with your daughter? I immediately regretted the harshness of my words, but I couldn't take them back. We left things unresolved that night, both too emotional to continue. The following week was tense. Mom sent me articles about how some people are just more stoic and different emotional expression styles. I sent her information about facial exercise programs and therapists specializing in emotional expression. Yesterday, everything came to a head. Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced, looking exhausted. She sat down on my couch and, without preamble, asked, "Do you really believe I don't love you because I don't smile?" The question hit me like a truck. No, I said honestly. I know you love me, but Mom, love isn't just something you feel internally. It's something you express. I express it through my actions. But faces matter too. I sat beside her. When I was little, I used to watch other mothers' faces light up when their kids entered a room. Their eyes would crinkle, they'd break into these spontaneous grins. I never got that from you. Ever. Do you know what that does to a child? For the first time in my life, I saw my mother cry. Not just tears, actual sobbing, her face contorting in ways I'd never witnessed before. I didn't know, she whispered. I thought as long as I was there, as long as I showed up and did everything a good mother should do, it was enough. We talked for hours. She told me more about those Catholic school nuns, about the body dysmorphia she developed as a teenager regarding her hamster cheeks, about how not smiling had become so intertwined with her identity that she couldn't separate herself from it anymore. I shared how her expressionless face had affected me growing up. The confusion, the constant second-guessing, the envy I felt toward friends whose mothers' faces showed pride and joy. By evening, we'd reached a compromise. Mom agreed to work with a therapist who specializes in facial expression and muscle retraining. Not to completely change herself, but to find a way to express joy that feels authentic to her while still acknowledging my feelings. I've postponed some of the wedding planning to give her time. Maybe she'll never have a Hollywood smile, and that's okay. I'm starting to accept that. But the fact that she's willing to try, that she's acknowledging how her choices affected me, means everything. Last night, she sent me a selfie. She wasn't quite smiling, but there was a softness around her eyes I'd never seen before, a slight upward turn at the corners of her mouth. The caption read, "Practice Session 1, how's this for Mother of the Bride?" It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Edit, thank you all for the supportive comments and even the critical ones. To clarify a few things. My mom isn't emotionally cold in other ways. She hugs, uses warm tones of voice, and has always been physically affectionate. It's specifically her facial expressions that remain neutral. Several people have mentioned possible neurodivergence. We've actually explored this, but doctors believe her expression control is learned behavior rather than a neurological condition. Yes, she really does look amazing for 50. Her skin is flawless. The no-smiling strategy definitely worked for anti-aging purposes. To those saying I'm shallow for caring about wedding photos, it's not just about the photos. They're simply the catalyst that brought up deeper issues about emotional expression and connection. We're both in therapy now, separately and together. Whatever happens with the wedding, I'm grateful this finally brought everything to the surface after 24 years.